Welcome. We're glad that you decided to join us today to learn more about new transition services at CRG. My colleague, Dr. Anna Merrill, and I look forward to introducing ourselves in just a moment more formally, and then telling you all more about these exciting new services that we're launching this fall, 2019, at CRG. We hope this information will be helpful to you. My name is Dr. David Parker. I'm a post-secondary disability specialist and also an ADD life coach at CRG. Most of my professional background has entailed working in the college setting. I ran services for students with learning disabilities, ADHD, and/or autism spectrum disorder at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, at the University of Connecticut, and at Washington University in St. Louis. For the last decade, though, I've worked here at CRG with high school students and college students with those disabilities and their families, particularly to help individuals transition to college or to whatever life has in store for them after high school in a successful manner.
And my name is Dr. Anna Merrill. I'm a psychologist here at CRG, and primarily my practice focuses on working with children and adolescents and young adults who have neurodevelopmental disabilities such as ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, as well as learning challenges or behavioral challenges. A lot of my work focuses on diagnostic evaluations to determine appropriate diagnoses, as well as therapy, including individual and group therapy. I hope here at CRG that we are able to combine both my background as well as Dr. Parker's background to provide a really useful service here with transition services. So we want to start by talking about the transition to adulthood. We know that this time of life where we move from being a child or an adolescent into more independence in adulthood, that this is a really difficult time for all of us. However, we also happen to know that this time can be particularly difficult for adolescents who have neurodevelopmental disabilities, learning challenges, or mental health concerns. And this can be challenging because perhaps we don't have the skills that are necessary in order to function independently when we move outside of our parents' home. This can also be really challenging for parents because parents often struggle with how to navigate this time, how much to push, how much to see what their child can do on their own, and where those boundaries lie. So as a result, as we focus in on this time, we wanted to get a better understanding of how we at CRG can help support better outcomes for children and their families as they move through this transition. Unfortunately, what we know now when we look at the research is that outcomes for adolescents and young adults are often not what we would hope when they move beyond their high school years. For example, a recent study that was done in 2012 found that about 50% of young adults with autism spectrum disorder 2 years after they left high school weren't working or were not enrolled in any sort of post-secondary education or college. And for many individuals, that's their goal, but there's barriers that are getting in the way. And other research tells us that other children who have IEPs when they're in school tend to not meet their goals when they transition out of high school. So we want to see what are the barriers that are getting in the way, why are we seeing that these issues come up, and if there's things that we can do to better support this transition. So from that mindset is where we have developed what we're calling transition services here at CRG. And our hope is that this service will provide a structured way for adolescents, young adults, and their families to think about what we can do to better support a transition into adulthood.
We have found from our work here that this type of service, which is designed to be 1 year in length, at least initially, can be particularly effective for individuals on the autism spectrum, or again, those who have learning disabilities or anxiety or depression, ADHD. Many of these students who we have the pleasure of working with here launch without a great deal of assistance and support after they finish high school. Some of them choose a 4-year college. Some of them choose a 2-year college. Some of them take gap years. Some of them go to work right away after high school. But we've also found that there's good news and bad news in terms of how students in high school today are prepared for life after high school. The good news is that more and more students are graduating from high school and considering or entering college, particularly when they have disabilities. And that's a great achievement. Over the last 10 years, we've seen those numbers go up, and that's really exciting. But conversely, we also find here that many of the families of these students are only really told about and encouraged to think about a 4-year degree program after high school. And we all know that that kind of post-secondary plan is certainly viable and very helpful for many students, but not all students. Not everybody, whether they have a disability or not, is ready to start college right after high school. Not everybody needs a 4-year degree in order to achieve the adult outcomes that will allow them to have a meaningful, rewarding life. So that's again where these services are designed to help students and families drill down and learn more about what their options are for life after high school and to help them plan for that. So we envision working with students, people who may be students who are currently in school. That might be high school, of course, or college. But we also envision providing transition services to maybe those students who have finished high school or even have dropped out of high school and are sort of lingering. We often hear the term, unfortunately, that they're living in their parents' basement playing video games all day to describe the student, the individual is kind of stuck in life and doesn't know yet where they're going or how to get there. So we want to work with as many individuals as we think can be helped by these transition services. And we've described the primary types of students or individuals who we think will. But again, this isn't necessarily designed to simply help students get into college or get through college. We find that many individuals may benefit from vocational training or again, going right into a work environment. Often these are individuals who would benefit from working with community agencies like vocational rehabilitation or therapy, but just don't know yet about those services or how to connect with them or how to benefit from them. So we hope that we've described a wide range of individuals who can benefit from these services, but also pinpointed the types of individuals who we see probably will benefit the most from these services because of their life circumstances. It's very important to us, sort of the philosophical underpinning of these transition services is what is called person-centered planning. And you're seeing a diagram of that. It's a holistic model that incorporates a person's whole life, not just, for example, their academic needs or interests, but more importantly, it keeps the individual at the very center of all that work. So our efforts over the course of a year of working with this teenager or young adult and his or her parents is to elicit from that individual, what do you want out of life? What do you need to be successful? What goals are meaningful to you? And those, of course, won't always align directly with what parents want or even think is possible. So Dr. Merrill and I look forward to, again, working both with the client, the individual, male or female, and his or her parents, who are often very centrally involved in helping that person launch still, to figure out what that individual wants, what they're willing to work toward. It could be in their social life. It could entail, I want to make friends. I want to learn how to make friends and have relationships. Maybe I want to have my first girlfriend or boyfriend, but I don't know how. It could be about developing hobbies or interests. It could be about school. It could be about work. It could be about learning how to drive a car or using public transportation to get around. What we find in our work is that when you pinpoint an authentic interest of an individual and promote their ability to meet the goals attached to that interest, it's like going to the gym to build muscles. It creates additional motivation and hope and desire to then begin working on other goals, maybe bigger goals that seemed monumental at first. So we weren't even hearing from the individual 6 months ago that they now might want to work on this goal. So in other words, this is designed to start where that young adult wants to start, to help them work on goals that are important to them over the course of the year, and then to see where that leads them. You're looking now at a slide that provides a visual schema for how this year is designed to unfold. It will begin with an intake meeting with both the young adult or teenager and his or her parents. And that would either be with Dr. Merrill or with myself. If one of us is already working with the client, we'll encourage you to have the intake with the other provider so that both of us have a pretty good understanding of who this person is, who their parents are at the beginning of the year. The intake process is designed to, again, begin to elicit from the individual, but also from their parents, what do you want? What goals are important to you? Where do you see yourself perhaps being in a few years? Or even hearing that individual say, I have no idea. That's what's so overwhelming to me. I don't even know how to begin to answer that question. But the intake process will allow us to get a lot of information initially about what we're trying to help this person with over the coming year. We would then encourage that individual to schedule a monthly appointment, either with Dr. Merrill or myself or both. Dr. Merrill would provide her therapeutic expertise in a clinical setting. I would provide my coaching expertise, again here at CRG, to meet that person's needs in terms of dealing with feelings, fears, hopes, frustrations, but also to develop practical strategies for, okay, if this is a goal that you're working on, big or small, what are the steps you need to take in the next few days or weeks or months to make progress on that? So those monthly meetings with Dr. Merrill or myself or both help that person continue to make progress and allow us to continue to help them learn more about themselves, about their strengths and weaknesses, about their disability and its impact, but also about other people and services and agencies in the community that they might want to network with, again, such as vocational rehabilitations, Easter Seals Crossroads, a driving program, whatever that person might need to continue reaching the goals that are important to them. It could entail looking at colleges and helping them make college visits, if that's a goal of theirs, to try and figure out what campus is best for them and what supports they might need on that campus once they start there. Along the way, at the 6-month point, so about mid-year, of course, and then also at the end of the year, Dr. Merrill and I would also work with that client to help them informally plan for a brief meeting with us, with their parents, and again, with anybody else they want to invite to that debriefing meeting. That would include any other providers or agency workers who might be working with them that year, to come here to CRG and listen to that person, maybe make a brief PowerPoint presentation or a talk or whatever is comfortable for them, to update all of us about the progress that they are making, what they're learning about themselves in that process, and what additional goals remain that they want some help with. So at the halfway point, mid-year, we would all do a check-in with that person, hear from parents, hear from the other providers, and just as a team, continue to try and coordinate services and supports to help that individual, again, reach the goals that are important to them. We would do that at the end of the year as well to get an update and then to work with the family at that point to see what's next. It may be, hopefully, that we've helped that person essentially meet most of their needs, create a plan, and have a good sense of how that plan is going to unfold from there on, in which case our work with them may be done. It may be the case that there's more work to do. It may be the case that referrals to other providers are helpful at that point in time. So we would figure all that out, keeping that person at the center of the planning process at the end of the year meeting and just go from there. We hope this has given you a decent starting sense anyway of what transition services might look like, and also a sense of who might benefit from them. Certainly, Dr. Merrill and myself and all of our colleagues here at CRG are very interested in working with individuals and families in a whole range of ways, and that just might be individual therapy. It just might be separate coaching apart from transition services. But we hope that this has given you information to maybe whet your appetite or pique your interest and think, maybe I or my son or daughter could benefit from this. Or even, I would just like to get some more information about transition services before we think about getting involved. If the latter is the case, we invite you to call CRG. They'll help you get in touch with either Dr. Merrill or myself, and we'd be happy to talk with you over the phone or in person to answer more questions, to maybe meet your son or daughter if we don't know them yet, and give you a sense of whether we think that individual might be a good candidate for transition services. So if you have any questions, you see our website there and our phone number, 317-575-9111. Please feel free to contact us and let us know what questions you might have and how we might help. So we look forward to hearing from you. And again, we hope that this presentation today gives you a little bit more information. If you visit our website, www.childrensresourcegroup.com, you'll also see new information posted there about transition services if you'd just like to read through more of this.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here to listen more about this, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you.